Human beings are very empathetic creatures. We are very aware of each other. We are acutely aware of tiny little details of individuals. We're also pattern-seeking animals who will try to fill in gaps in our information by successive trial and error. And what that means is that you can sit down in a very non-rational way and puzzle your way through an interaction with another human being and come up with answers that work for you. But there's nothing supernatural behind it. It's all psychology. It's all kind of a fundamental process of reasoning that we go through.
Yeah, plus if you have information to start off with.
Oh, if you the less information you have, the easier it is to generate all kinds of new information. And what will happen is then as it's that evolution thing again, that natural selection thing. You will cull through the stuff that doesn't apply, and you'll come up with something that works. And I would say that in your case, probably it feels very satisfying. It makes you feel empowered to be able to do this. But I'm just saying that it's an illusion. It's an effective illusion, but it's not reality. Okay.
My question's a lot shorter. Have you got real political worries about the States? You said you're becoming more aggressive. Have you got worries that school boards will be taken over?
Oh, it's happening all the time. It requires eternal vigilance to fight these things off. That every year we have new school board elections, and every year the creationists are very active politically in trying to get on these boards. The most horrific example right now is probably Texas, which is dominated by the creationists and their school board. Creationists running the school board, dictating what the curriculum will be, what textbooks they'll use, all this kind of stuff. And there are lots of rational Texans who are really worried and fighting very hard against them. We're hoping we can win, but it's going to take time. But yeah, you should worry. The United States could become even crazier than it is now.
Thanks for this talk. It's very informative. Just a question, just in relation to yourself. At what point in your life did you have this eureka moment where I assume at some stage you may have considered belief in God and then you became like an atheist. So what was that change like?
There wasn't a eureka moment. We reserve eureka moments to the creationists who don't think rationally. No, I was brought up in the Lutheran church. I was an altar boy, all this kind of stuff. My primary moment was when I was in confirmation classes, and the priest sits there and tells you that you believe these things. That I had to memorize the Nicene Creed, and I had to understand what it means. And when I understood what it meant, I realized I did not believe one word of it. And so I left the church. I did not suddenly become an atheist, though. It took several years of gradual thinking about it and finding, for instance, that science was a much more satisfactory explanation before I could actually say to myself, hey, I'm an atheist. And I've talked to many atheist converts. Many of them write to me and say that I help them get over this religion problem. And this is a very common thing. What happens is not a eureka moment. It's not me lecturing at somebody and saying, well, God is dead, forget about him. What it is lots of little discussions that get some thinking. And this is the danger to religion, is when believers start thinking, they start questioning, they start realizing how silly that stuff is over there, and they leave the church to varying degrees. They may not go all the way to atheism, but it's that gradual process of thought that leads them away.
Do you not consider atheism as a religion?
No. No, by no definition of religion that I can imagine is it a religion. It doesn't have a dogma, it doesn't have a doctrine, it doesn't have supernatural beliefs. We don't even have a congregation. We lack a pope. I just don't see how we could argue that it's in any way a religion.
Buddhism is a religion. They don't have a pope.
Well, yeah, I'm not saying you don't have to have a pope to be a religion. It's one component for one religion. I'm saying there's a lot of these little things, and that, for instance, with Buddhism, we don't have a belief in a supernatural force. We don't believe in.
But isn't it a foundation of atheism is mainly based on scientific thought?
Yes.
And that's a philosophy. So isn't that a belief system?
Oh, well, everything is a philosophy. I mean, so if you're going to say that, then everything is a religion. And I'm saying that, no, science is not a religion. Science is definitely a way of thinking about the world, just as religion is, but it abandons many of the principles that religion uses. Science demands questioning, demands reflection, or demands evidence, most of all, things that undermine a lot of religions.
Do you come up against many arguments, not only by the Christian side, but just say Jewish, Muslim? Like I have a lot of Jewish family, and I argue with them all the time about evolution, creationism.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
It went to the point where I just left that bit alone. But it's just that they believe, my Jewish family, they believe that everything else evolved. It was just humans that were, and that's what I found.
Yes, there's actually been some studies done that in the United States. If you have a poll that says, do you believe that humans evolved over millions of years, you get 1% that says no. And if you say, did dogs evolve over millions of years, you get a much lower percentage that reject that. So that's really common. It's human exceptionalism. That's really common. I don't run into too many problems from Jewish communities because Jewish communities tend to have a tradition of respecting science a little more. Yeah, there's Orthodox Jewish communities that do it differently. But yeah, I'm in academia, and there are Jewish people all over. And they tend to be very, very secular, so it hasn't been a serious issue. Muslims are a different matter altogether. We have a rising tide of Islamic creationism coming along. The curious thing is that most of that Islamic creationism is ripping off Answers in Genesis and organizations like that. It's like warmed over Christian creationism. It's shocking how nearly identical they are.
Would you have a problem with a lot of writers and people like that cashing in on the uncertainty of people who are kind of agnostic? They want to believe in the left-hand side and they want to believe in the right. Like Dan Brown has brought out a series of books where it seems like he's trying to reconcile his scientific beliefs and his religious beliefs. Like in his newest book, he said that science is the way forward, but everything can be shown in the Bible. Do you have a problem with people trying to cash in on people's uncertainty?
I have a problem with Dan Brown because he is possibly the worst writer I've ever read. How he became a bestseller, well, it depends what you mean by do I have a problem with. I mean, I think that people have a right to believe whatever they want. That, yeah, if they want to believe that crazy stuff, sure, go ahead, believe that. But I'm going to point out that you're pretty silly for believing it. That we also have freedom to ridicule silly beliefs. That there is going to be no fascist dictatorship of the mind in the future atheist paradise. Okay. Yeah, that stuff. Well, what can you say about it? There's all that stuff with the Bible codes and so forth, where they say it's all in there. But that's playing games. That's interpretation again. Here you've got this huge, colossal pile of noise, which is what the Bible is, and you're plucking out pieces of it using a pattern in your mind. So you're fitting the noise to a pattern, and that's how they get all this information out of there. There's never been any discovery of something really useful in the Bible that would have dazzled me. Like if the Bible had somewhere in it, before you do an appendectomy, you should wash your hands. Okay, that doesn't require a super genius. It requires some prior information that supposedly God has privy to, right? So why doesn't the Bible say these obvious sorts of things? It would have really helped a lot of people for a long, long time if the Bible actually had working, practical rules in most of its places, instead of telling us things like, don't eat shellfish and chop off the end of your penis. Way back there.
Sort of like the previous question, was people swaying one way or the other. Do you find that a big problem these days is the people, like the guy you mentioned was his name, Stephen Myers or something like that?
Oh, Stephen Meyer, right, the Discovery Institute creation.